Hello and welcome to the third episode of the Fern Chronicles podcast. Currently, I am hanging out with my dog in the really beautiful high desert mountain range in the Cascades east of Seattle. Um, and I just wanted to share some really good vibes with you. I'm feeling great this morning. I woke up at about 5:30 this morning with my dog needing to go outside. I took her out. My family is asleep right now. And something that I wanted to discuss, maybe something that, might help you guys get through the quarantine further. I know I touched on this a little bit on episode number one. But with basically my in-laws, my mother and father-in-law are empty nesters, and they're looking to sell their house, a little bit down the road after they, you know, retire and are looking to maybe move a little bit closer to their children and their future grandkids, um, which leaves them with a lot of projects that they wanted to get done, but aren't necessarily able to get done, at least not efficiently, just by themselves. Something that I was helping my father-in-law with yesterday was actually making a fence, which is something that I've never done before. It seems pretty ordinary, and it is for sure. Um, but it's something that has been super satisfying for me. Um, Basically, they have a really large backyard, and a chicken coop and a little cherry orchard. So it's a big area here, and they're basically just redesigning kind of where their backyard fence was going. Um, so what we decided to do was to basically remove a huge section of fence and then create a new one that sort of wraps around and connects to this chicken coop to kind of make it part of the yard so you wouldn't have to sort of leave the fence to go out and get in there and grab some fresh organic free range eggs in the morning, which is kind of cool. They like to have their eggs, and they have chickens that are almost more of pets than anything. Um, so it's just something that, is going to help increase the kind of the sort of perceived value of the house. It's going to make it look a lot nicer. Um, it's just it's just the 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 right thing to do. Adjusting this fence. There's a lot of big overgrown areas in their pasture with huge weeds and things that just it didn't look bad, but it certainly could have been cleaned up a little bit. So we went out with the mower and um, this giant weed whacker and just mowed everything down. It just spent all day on this. Um, you know, we had to dig up this huge area for a septic tank um, and then of course, use a giant kind of manual um, post hole digger. Again, my first time doing that. And then we cemented in these giant posts to be, kind of those vertical mounting points for the fence. And we got a lot of it done. The only thing that we have to do today, basically, that we didn't accomplish yesterday just because we had to wait for the cement to dry, um, is of course um, to actually put the lateral section of the fence up, which should be a lot easier than digging and getting everything lined up and measured out. So basically, we just have to nail it all together, or screw it all together, rather. We went out and got all the wood yesterday, measured everything, cut everything. So this section should be pretty easy. But yeah, it's something that, like I said, I'd never really done before, and I really enjoyed it. I think a lot of the time these days people don't really get as much satisfaction from, I hesitate to say manual labor, but yeah, manual labor, just going out and doing yard work and, building, creating things, maybe woodworking, just working with your hands and being able to start a project and see it through to the end. Maybe something that's a little bit daunting. For me, building a fence is kind of daunting, especially, um, out here it's super, super dry air. It's really hot. I came out here and pretty much immediately got a nosebleed because my home in Portland is obviously a lot more humid, a lot, rainier. And then when we come out here, it's always very, very dry. Skin's dry, nasal, cavity's really dry. And then of course it's super exposed out here. So it's something I was like, all right, we got this. Let's just go for it. Wasn't expecting to necessarily enjoy it, but I certainly wanted to help out my in-laws. But pretty much immediately, as soon as we got into it, I started to really enjoy it. And it's something that, it's really, I don't know, it was very atypical for me. I mentioned last episode I'm beginning a new career as an EMT, something a little bit more tangible, a little more hands-on, a little more front lines. Um, but before that, and basically still now, I'm basically doing a sales position, stuck behind a keyboard in an office with a small window, um, coming home, make dinner. Sometimes it's pretty bland, just kind of, like I said, going through the motions. I mentioned that last podcast, and then coming home and, um, you know, watching TV, playing video games with my wife, which, I certainly do enjoy. That quality time is amazing. I wouldn't trade it for anything. But I kind of lost sight on, how important and how fulfilling it can be to simply come out and do some yard work. It's just not something that I've not never done, but never done to the extent of building a fence and kind of, shoveling out a pasture and dropping in a septic tank and all of these things. Um, yeah, I just wanted to maybe encourage you guys to challenge yourselves to break sort of an ordinary curve that you've been doing and sort of hop off and maybe, um, maybe do if you needed to build um, a fence in your yard, or if you wanted to build a planter box, or if you had to, maybe you come home every day and you're looking, that door, little shutters, that shingle might need to be replaced. This door might need to be painted. Shutter might need to be painted or stripped down, but yeah, whatever. Maybe just take the time, now is as good a time as any to just do it, grab some paint, go out and, you know, learn how to do some minor projects around the house. You have a leaky sink. There's not really an excuse these days to not know how to do something, with as many YouTube videos as there are, that really, are professionally done and give you an insider's look, and can really, really teach you how to effectively become a pro at anything. In my case, I was working with, in my opinion, kind of a master sort of craftsman, and was able to learn from him how to build this fence, and it's looking great. We use some cedar, because it's naturally water repellent and mold resistant, and just looks really nice without being too expensive. So that's how I was able to get this done, because I probably wouldn't have done a very good job on my own. Would have made it work, but definitely wouldn't have been the best option. So yeah, I guess that's my main message is go on and find something that works for you. I wouldn't necessarily say, build a fence. That's something that my circumstance sort of just pushed me into. But, it's one of those things. Everybody's very, very different. You might not get the satisfaction of having this bigger, yard project that's not even your yard, and, it's not my yard, but it still feels good to come out and see the condition at the beginning of the day, and then work hard, get a little sunburnt, get a little smelly, get a little hungry, but have this end, status that looks so much different, so much better. And then, of course, is going to make my in-laws happy. And that's, I think, probably the most rewarding part of it. I'm realizing that acts of love are pretty fulfilling. It's definitely a love language of a lot of people to, show up and not just hang out, not just have a good time, but actually put in some work. So I might encourage you to, next time you're with some friends or some families or, new people in your life, a spouse, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, whatever, maybe see if there's a project that they wanted to get done, or maybe didn't even know that they wanted to get done, but might need to get done around the house, and go after it. It's, it's very possible. A lot of times people get stuck on their phones. Dates today are pretty bland in a lot of cases, maybe go out to a movie and stare at your smartphones. So I encourage you to put everything down, get some sunlight, get your body moving, get your hands moving, acquire a new skill, maybe lay some stones down for a walking path, and maybe build a fire pit. I mean, there's so many ideas, so many things that you can do that you might not find on Pinterest immediately. You might not find on YouTube, 10 things to do at home while you're stuck in quarantine. Just look around, make that list yourself. I'm sure that you'll get a lot more satisfaction if you actually come up with something on your own, rather than looking it up. I know I'm obviously giving you ideas now, so that sounds a little bit contradictive, but, look around. Make that decision for yourself. I'll stop making recommendations now, because it is really something that can help you feel better. It can really give you some motivation. It can help other people. If nothing else, it helps the day go by faster. If you're just waiting to get outside, you miss being in local parks or at a pub or, an amusement park, whatever your thing is that you like to do outside while you're stuck in the house. This is something that can maybe kind of burn a new passion and help that day go by a little bit faster for you. That's effectively all I wanted to say about that. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about travel today. I know that a lot of people are maybe wondering why I'm not in Portland today, and have come out to kind of the high mountains in Washington, just on the leeward side of the Cascades here. And I know we're not supposed to be traveling, but we actually had a family member pass away, somebody very close to us and very close to our in-laws, and we decided to basically just kind of drop everything. We're both still full-time employed, and head out to help the in-laws while they're getting the small funeral ready. It can be a really challenging time. Obviously there's a lot of work to be done. A lot of people don't really think about that, myself included, how much work is needed during a funeral. You have to get everything arranged, estate management, informing everybody, just lots of paperwork, lots of steps to go through that are very, convoluted at times, talking to lawyers. It can be messy, hairy, very stressful, and all of that on top of, dealing and kind of grieving for your lost loved one. So we immediately realized that and decided to come on out and just sort of, lessen the burden a little bit. So, like I mentioned, I helped make the fence a little bit, but most importantly, just to be around the house and, cook meals, run to the store for little things. So my in-laws didn't have to, and just, of course, just be there. That's a really important thing. I think that maybe I haven't done the best, throughout my adult life, is kind of just be emotionally available for people. Maybe, I definitely would say that I am for my wife, but for other people, I would say that, and I touched on this a little bit on my kind of last episode here. I touched a little bit on sort of apathy towards people and just not really having a huge desire to connect. And I am working on that, and that's something that we were doing, this week, is coming out and helping, connecting, talking through, the feelings that, our extended family is feeling right now. And, more than anything, simply just being there and being an open ear and open arms. And that is definitely, I think, been very, very dramatically appreciated. So it was important to me. It's something that, has really, really made a big impact, and has helped me too, because this person who's passed away was very close to me as well. Didn't know him super long, but, has definitely had an impact on my life and has been kind of a beacon of just what it means to be a good person. So it's been hard, but yeah, that's why we're here, and hopefully, that helps everybody kind of get the perspective, and maybe not judge me so hard for traveling. And we're not doing anything out of the ordinary while we're here. We're staying inside. We're respecting the quarantine, wearing masks whenever we need to, that sort of thing. But I guess I also wanted to touch on just, loving those people who are in your lives, because, life really isn't forever. Everything that you know is super temporary, where you're living, your animals, your family members, your spouse, your parents, your children, brothers and sisters, all of that is very, very temporary. So, I guess I just wanted to encourage you to take the time now to really appreciate that, set up time every day to be with those people, because, in the end, that's one of the most important things is um, those relationships and kind of making those connections, because, nobody wants to be a loner. I know it's easy to chase the career, to, chase that destination, chase that new house. There's lots of milestones that certainly are important and can definitely lead to a lot of satisfaction. But um, this is one of those things. This person was doing fine, and then within basically a 24-hour period, he got super sick and passed. And it kind of caught a lot of people off guard. A lot of people weren't able to say goodbye. Um, and that was really hard. That's something that you may have to live with. If somebody passes away that you really care about, but maybe aren't giving the time of day. Um, yeah, kind of a heavy subject, but that's that's very important. And um, I guess just don't take anything or anybody for granted, because, like I said, it is all very temporary, and that's something that has been kind of running through my head all the time. Um, so yeah, just make memories, acquire relationships, not things, and maybe go out and have a campfire in the backyard tonight and tell stories. Maybe call your grandparents or your parents or your uncles and see if they have any stories that maybe nobody's asked them about or nobody's talked to them about, and really just soak that in, because once they're gone, they're gone. And if you don't have any information, or if there's something that maybe they have, any knowledge, any stories, family history, all of that stuff, it's very important. Once they're gone, their stories leave with them. So um, there's there's a lot right now that I'm finding out about this person from other people that I didn't know about. Um, and there would have been time for these stories to, be told personally between he and I, and I'll never get that chance again, which is kind of a hard and tough pill to swallow. But that's just that's life. That was a wake up call. So, maybe instead of at a family gathering, instead of spending more time on your phone, or just BSing, maybe take some time to really talk about important things, and things that you might be wondering, while you're away between family gatherings. Log those little questions that you have away somewhere in your brain, or even on your phone, or if you have to write it down, just things that you may want to know, and maybe pass down to your future children, or to your friends, or to your immediate family that they maybe wanted to know the same questions. It's just something to keep in mind. And yeah, like I said, I know that was kind of heavy, but sometimes sometimes life happens. Sometimes you have to think about these things. So I wanted to share that with you. And yeah, it's pretty important. But lastly, to leave on maybe a happier note here, I wanted to talk about planning a little bit. I think on the first podcast I did, we mentioned taking the quiet and the boredom of quarantine to plan trips. I'll talk more about this later on once we have things a little bit more well established. But something my wife and I have been doing are we've made a pact to not buy anything that we don't need. So clothing, extra pots and pans, extra coffee mugs, gadgets, this, that, and the other. We made a pact not to buy literally anything that we don't need for travel, so that once everything lifts, we'll be able to go and take the money that we've saved and not have to worry about leaving things behind or packing superfluous things, and go out and do some traveling. We have quite a few places scoped out. We have some really cool news that I'd love to share with you guys later on after after everything cools off, and it's going to be really fun. So yeah, I guess stay tuned for that. And yeah, whenever you guys have any info that you'd like to share with me, any feedback, always happy to hear it. Just comment down below if you're on YouTube, or shoot me a message if you're listening elsewhere, and we'll talk about it. Yeah, that is it for today. So thank you so much, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.